Yes, you are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. It is Wednesday, the 17th of September, 2025, and we are back. Had to run a rerun yesterday. I did go to the dentist and spend a lot of time in the chair, but I'm back today. Grateful and thankful to Matt for allowing me to get that taken care of so quickly. Tell you what, painful teeth, man. That's something no one wants to go through. Look, if you want to be part of the program today, 601-879-0002. The text line is already blowing up. It's 601-879-5060. By the way, absolutely loved the shout out yesterday from the blue collar crew. I got that, and I just want to make sure I acknowledge you guys. I always appreciate you guys checking in. We're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube, and we're streaming at WYAB.com. You can always find us there if the radio signal is just a little bit too far out for you. We appreciate everybody who tunes in. And the mission for today is standard. We're here to equip the saints. He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous are both alike an abomination to the Lord. And with everything that's going on with Charlie Kirk and this whole, it's just, as my neighbor would say, it's just a mess. The one thing that we're finding out is that Charlie's faith is what drove him. And I'm certainly not going to stop. Today is Constitution Day. Somebody tell Dearborn, Michigan that. You know, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is totally and wholly inadequate to the government of any other. John Adams. And whether you read the Constitution for work, whether you're a paralegal or a lawyer, or whether you're a patriot or a political activist, it's something that we don't teach enough of in our public schools. And it should be something that is taught not just yearly, once a year, but in every year for a semester, where we can sit there and you can cage it up to start it at kindergarten and build it all the way up to senior in high school. And you can keep on adding layers to it. But our government, the way we teach our government right now is just absolutely wretched and horrid. And we got to do something about that. I've got so much on the docket today. And I guess where I really want to start is with ABC. And I'll tell you what is going on at ABC is it's truly bad. And I'm just going to play this first little clip, and you tell me whether she's hired or fired.
Much for tuning into Marketplace today. So I want to talk about something for a minute, and it is heavy, so please bear with me. I want you to know that it's okay if you feel sadness. It's okay if you're grieving. 2 days ago, I lost a mentor, my first boss, the first person who made me believe in myself, that encouraged me to chase this dream that you're watching right now, Charlie Kirk. There's a lot going on in our world right now, in our country, but I want to say one thing. Lean on your neighbors. Speak up for what you believe in. I don't care what it is. I want to share with you one of my favorite sayings that Charlie would always tell us at the office. He would yell it from the mountaintops, so please listen. When conversations stop happening, when individuals become wordless, that's when violence begins. So if you do one thing today, make it be with passion, with conviction. Stand up for your friends, stand up for your beliefs, and speak loudly, even if your voice shakes. Your words have meaning, your values have purpose. Never forget that. Thank you, CK. You changed my life.
Yep. That is Benny Ray Harmony at ABC 20. Is she hired or fired, ladies and gentlemen? Well, if you guessed neither and said suspended, you would be right. She was suspended for that. Now, I don't know if she went off script or if she did something she wasn't supposed to do, but ABC 20, WICS, wherever the heck that is, they suspended her. At which point, when she was suspended, she just automatically resigned. And that is the status of ABC. You know, if there's anything good coming out of ABC, or anything good about Charlie Kirk coming off the air, the mainstream media is going to fight it, and they're going to try to tell you something that truly doesn't exist and isn't real. But anytime they can embrace homosexuality, transgenderism, evil, darkness, they're going to endorse it. Don't believe me? We got the receipts here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific...
Alleged? Alleged? This is why mainstream America absolutely has no faith in what's on TV anymore. Alleged. I'm just going to, every time I listen to this, I just get angrier and angrier.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect.
What? It was touching? Are you serious? This is live ABC News special report.
A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who is transitioning, calling him my love. And
do you hear that? Do you see how they're not going over facts? They're going over feelings, because that's what tugs at your heartstrings. That's what gets this left just completely fired up and just rolling down the road. It's not about reality and facts. It's about emotions and feelings. And that's where we're at in America today. I have some friends on the left who are still there, but they are seriously reconsidering their position in life right now. Because the truth of the matter is that this agenda, which started way back in the 80s, just allow them to get married. Just allow them to get this. Just allow them to get a little bit more. And then they went from LG to LGB to LGBTQ plus to whatever it is now. It's that slippery slope. And the farther you go down it, the steeper it gets. And it's everywhere. So much so that it's influenced our mainstream media, and they cannot help themselves. They cannot help themselves.
I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner.
So this man murders somebody in front of an estimated crowd of 2,000 people. And this ABC reporter is not trying to humanize, but is humanizing him in a way that is completely not appropriate. If you want to quote it, that's one thing, but to give your opinion on it when you are the news, that's like the great thing about WYAB. Everybody knows when you come to the Andrew Gosser Show, I'm going to let you hear the quote, but then I'm going to give you my opinion on it. Same with Clay, same with Kim, same with Chip, same with Sean and Lindsay. And when you have this type of thing, when we're expecting the facts from you, and then you start pulling off craziness like this, it's no wonder that the youth of America are running to the right, and they are. Will we see it in our, for the people who are in their 50s and 60s? Maybe not. It's going to take at least a generation, like I said on Monday, but maybe two. But it will come back. I want to finish this up.
So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference, David.
It was tough.
It was not riveting. Thanks to MRC Newsbusters for that clip, by the way. There's really not too much more you can say about ABC. We know that the president is now going to sue the New York Times for an apparent $15 billion. Will he get $15 billion? We all know the answer to that. Probably not. No. But will he get a judgment against them? Absolutely. And we have to fight this rot. We have to fight this at every chance we get. And that means people like you and people like me, whether you've got a microphone in front of you or you just have your neighbors around your street. It's critically important. It's so critically important that we discuss this and we talk about it, because when we don't talk, we end up going down a really dark path. And that's the reason why Charlie Kirk, and I said it on Monday and I'll say it again today. I think next to Stephen, he's the biggest martyr that we've seen. And it's been, I'm not saying that it's a more bigger story or more details, but Charlie Kirk has reached more people in life and in death than anybody I can remember. I can't remember another story like that other than the story of Stephen in the Bible, in the book of Acts. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, you can go. It's free. Bible sales are up. That's always a good thing. Meanwhile, in Dearborn, Mississippi, it ain't going so hot. Last week, we talked about how the police now have the police tag in Arabic on their patches, and their entire form of city government is just raging to the right. And this is a great example for all you liberals out there who just want to placate and be kind of what happens. Look, I've been overseas. I've seen government over there and how they do things, and it is nothing like what our Constitution says. And quite frankly, it would be a lot better off if they had a copy of our Constitution and maybe they used it. And we are going to talk about that because if we do not pay attention to what's happening in Dearborn, the mainstream media, which we just chronicled, how they'll silence a conservative voice and amplify a leftist voice, a radical leftist voice. What do you think they're going to do when this starts hitting the airwaves? And ladies and gentlemen, it can happen right here in Mississippi. Do not think for 1 second, just because we have the South on our side, that we're in the South with the Gulf of America. Do not think it can't happen here, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee. It can happen anywhere. Again, like those organizations that are in this state and operating right now. Bringing in not just aliens, but illegal aliens to come and work and live in Mississippi, lowering the average wage for the legal worker in Mississippi, taking away valuable resources, whether that be healthcare, education, law enforcement, or otherwise. It is having a drain on our economy. And we can talk about all the investment, and I do talk about it because I am a positive guy. I love the investment that's coming into Mississippi and the things that we're doing. But my goodness, if we don't get this under control really quick, what's happening in the north is going to start trucking south. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're so glad you're with us. If you want to be part of the show today, the number is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. We're going to continue going down this track that I've kind of started to lay out for us. We've talked about ABC firing a couple people, and we're going to continue with the news media because even though this is a CNN, I do like this pollster, and the information that I'm stating, many Republicans are going to disagree with, but some of y'all out there know that this is true, and we're going to roll with this and talk about it.
And the least liked member of Donald Trump's cabinet.
It would help if I start at the beginning.
What a disaster for Pam Bondi, and therefore, I'm Donald Trump. I'm just going, what the heck is going on here? You know, take a look here. Weekly Google searches for free speech. Get this, up like a rocket, up 186% versus the 5-year average. I went back and looked at every single week. More folks are searching for free speech this week on Google than any week in at least 5 years. And of course, not surprisingly, who's the top trending topic with free speech? Well, it's Pam Bondi, of course. People are taking her comments, looking it up, interested in it. And as you saw from that Wall Street Journal editorial, they ain't liking it too much from the left to the right.
So, Madam Attorney General, if Office Max has to make a copy of something, does that mean that I have to bake a cake? Ooh. Pam Bondi is so off the reservation. And people are going, Andy, but you said to give her time. Yeah, but this is like one of those unforced errors, like we're going to see here in a little bit from somebody on the left. A couple of them, actually. But this is just absolutely un-American. You know what? The free market will take care of it itself, Madam Attorney General. That lady who refused to make the copies of the flyers, she gone. And may I remind you that the U.S. Supreme Court said that we didn't have to bake a cake if we didn't want to. If you want to be foolish enough not to have someone's business because it doesn't agree with what you're saying, let me take that back. If you decide it is in your business's best interest not to do some type of work, for whatever reason it is, that is your prerogative. We live in 2025, where anything that is mildly offensive will go global nuclear viral over X, Insta, and TikTok if you are truly a moron. And that lady at Office Max who refused to make the Charlie Kirk flyers, she's no longer employed. Why make it bigger? Why go in and sicken the DOJ on that? Don't we have other things to look at, like the Epstein files? And people are saying, oh, that's a fake hoax, everything. I'm telling you, the mainstream party can continue to say that, but it's like a boil under your skin. And it's just getting more infected and more infected. It's growing and bigger. And I know my Republican friends get mad at me for talking about it. Or just let it go. I can't. I can't let the pedos go, man. I know there's a lot of Democrats on there. And guess what? There's some Republicans on there, too. And like I said on the show, we are equal opportunity offender. If it's out there and I can source it as a reliable news source, and if I get it wrong, I'll say I got it wrong. But no, Pam, you need to be focusing on the illegals and Epstein and let everything else, these little sideshow distractions, let the free market correct itself. And it will.
This also raises the question of what people think of any cabinet secretary any cabinet member when they get in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. What are people thinking about Pam Bondi?
Yeah, okay, so Pam Bondi was already underwater, and I wouldn't be surprised if she goes underwater more. Take a look here. The net popularity of Trump cabinet members. Look who has the lowest number on your screen right here that I could find. Look how far underwater Pam Bondi is at minus 19 points. Now, none of the folks on your screen here are in positive territory, but none of them are as far underwater as Pam Bondi at minus 19 points. Of course, RFK Jr. has been in the news recently, too, but he's well above where Pam Bondi is. He's at minus 7 points. She is more than 10 points more underwater than RFK Jr. is. And of course, he's made a lot of controversial comments. She is, at least by the numbers that I'm looking at, the least liked member of Donald Trump's cabinet, and it ain't even close.
Why is that? We know that CNN is going to sample a disproportionate number of Democrats, so none of the Republicans are going to have a positive number. We know this. We understand this. We accept it. We know how CNN operates. We know how MSNBC/MS Now/BS always works. It's actually absolutely despicable. But what does this show when it's minus 19? Do you know what that means? That means that the Republicans are just as angry as the Democrats, maybe even more. And I'm telling you, I've said this a million times, Republicans are the absolute best at gripping defeat out of the jaws of victory. And if we don't fix this, it's not that we're going to lose, but we are not going to be able to take nearly as much territory. We're not going to be able to do nearly as much because there are people out there, Mississippi GOP, and I'll show you. I hear it from not all of my listeners, but so many of you tell me how fed up you are with DOJ and what's happening with Pam Bondi. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, man, I got to go with it. So let's finish this up.
And it gets to the difference here, gets to the focus on the topics they've been, the topics they've been taking on. What is it for Bondi?
Yeah, okay. I mean, what is Pam Bondi probably most associated with before, of course, this whole free speech controversy? Well, of course, it was the Epstein files, which is something that nobody, for the most part, likes how the Trump administration has been handling them. Of course, she's been a key leadership role in this.
Is it Andrew Gosser who's lying to you, GOP, or is it just that the evidence is so overwhelming? It's just so overwhelming that we have to go down this route. And here's the truth of the matter. There are going to be some people who are quote unquote good Republicans and quote unquote good Democrats who got laid up in this, no pun intended, Lolita Express. Nobody is happy with this. I have no idea how the president's going to handle this, but this could actually severely hamper everything Trump wants to do moving forward if this doesn't get solved within the next month or two.
I mean, look at this. Approval of the Trump admin on the Epstein files. It's just 19%. 19% of all adults, 67% disapprove. Among Democrats, it's 2%. Independents, 12%. And even among Republicans, you can't even get to 50% approval. And
that's horrible. I think Trump's approval rate among Republicans is like 89%. I'd be interested to see a poll where they do all the cabinet people. I bet you up at the top would be probably RFK Jr. number 1, Pete Hegseth number 2, Marco Rubio number 3, Kristi Noem number 4, and then who knows after that, because they just don't have the news coverage and media coverage that everybody else gets.
And of course, this just goes all the way back. You're building a case step by step by step. Who is the biggest pain in the rear end in the Donald Trump administration for him? Who is he having to answer for? Oftentimes it's for Pam Bondi. The free speech situation is just another example of that. And we're
And I'm going to cut it off right there because I value your time and we don't need to pile on to the disaster that is the free speech presser by Pam Bondi. I know that probably wasn't on many people's bingo card today, but we got to call it like we see it. We expect our attorney general to go out there, prosecute crime, and execute the laws of the United States of America via the U.S. Constitution. And the truth of the matter is, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but the perception is that Pam Bondi is not doing that. And I've defended her on these airwaves. I had to be truthful with you. I genuinely, I knew it would take time to get it out. I thought I didn't expect it to be out yet. Just full disclosure, I figured it would take time. I know that the courts have blocked it in a couple ways, but it is what it is. But I'm telling you, Republicans, I'm not your enemy. I'm a conservative. Mississippi congressional Republicans declined to back release of Epstein files, call push a political distraction. That's from the Mississippi Today by Michael Goldberg and Taylor Vance. I read all the news sources. If that's what the Democrats are running on, they're not going to get the hardcore Republicans. But let me tell you what's going to happen, GOP, because I know, because I talk to a lot of different people. The hardcore GOP who are for Trump and nobody else, they're going to stay home. The middle of the roaders who normally are on the right but don't always vote, they're going to stay home. The moderates, they're actually not going to stay home. They're going to go to the left. The moderates on the left who voted for Trump are going to go back to the left, and it's going to energize the left space. Is it going to be enough to take over the GOP margins? I don't think so. But if Epstein is their issue, and I'm telling you, it's bigger than people think, then we're going to be in trouble. I went a little long. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Friends, I am sorry for the next 29 seconds of your life. It's nothing too traumatic. It's not violent or anything, but just like take your Advil, take your Tylenol, pain relieving medication, whatever it might be, because here we go in 3, 2, 1, lift off.
That's horrific. It's free speech, that you shouldn't be employed anywhere if you're going to say that. And employers, you have an obligation to get rid of people. You need to look at people who are saying horrible things, and they shouldn't be working with you. Businesses cannot discriminate. If you want to go in and print posters with Charlie's pictures on them for a vigil, you have to let them do that. We can prosecute you for that. I have Harmeet Dillon right now in our civil rights unit looking at that immediately, that Office Depot had done that. We're looking at that. But Sean, that's...
She is just out to lunch, man. She is just out to lunch. And let's just call it like we see it, man. We've litigated this over and over again. And the best way to do something like this is out on the street, not on the corner. If you do not like a company because they won't make Charlie Kirk posters, well, let people know about it and watch how quick that gets changed. In fact, we have proof of it because we're much more aware of it now. Almost a decade ago now, those poor Christians got persecuted in Colorado, being forced to bake a cake that they didn't agree with because of their own religious beliefs, which was not even debatable. And think about this. You had to go, just like Trump is having to go through the lower courts to get to the Supreme Court, to get to the law of the land. It takes time. So that's why originally, and I will fall on that sword, I'll die on that sword. But Pam Bondi has really dropped the ball here. I don't know how she fixes it. I mean, she could just release all the Epstein files and say, here you go, and this is what I found, and I'm out, deuces, and she'd probably go out like a hero. But now, let's talk about an appointment that some people are really upset about, but others are really, hey, I think he's doing a pretty good job. Could he do better? Absolutely. But this isn't even my style of politics. I never spoke over somebody or yelled at somebody. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And this is Kash Patel responding to Adam's shifty shift. And, Pam Bondi's trying to figure out how to get herself out from underwater. She could go after this guy too.
People to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're not in
inmates.
the weeds?
What I am
The
doing is
most-
protecting
the
this country,
most- the
providing
most
historic
significant
reform,
witness-
and
the most
combating the
significant witness,
weaponization of
the
intelligence
Epstein
by the likes
files
of you.
cover-up
And we have
gets
countlessly proven you to
from
be a
your
liar in
administration,
Russiagate, in
and you
January
call that
6th.
being
You are
in
the
the
biggest
weeds?
fraud to ever sit in the
This
United States
stinks to
Senate.
high
You are a
heaven.
disgrace to this
This stinks to high
institution
heaven.
and an utter
And
coward.
I'm not surprised.
That's just the first half of it. He did not go lightly or softly into the night. He was dropping bombs. And one of my liberal friends said, he's not in the weeds. Let me tell you, as someone at his level, when I was the boss, when I was the highway commissioner, I did not know about every single little minute detail of what's going on. Call that bad leadership, call that what you want. There's no way someone's brain is going to have all that wrapped around their mind. There just isn't. You know what? Cash has got Dan Bongino. He goes to Dan Bongino and says, make sure this prisoner gets to X to Y, and he's done safely. And Dan Bongino salutes smartly, says, roger that, boss, and it's done. And the thing is that these senators and these congressmen who look, Adam Schiff or any senator, if they start getting that nuclear and that detailed, either they're having very specific briefings done, or they have personal knowledge in the subject in and of itself. He's just looking to grandstand. And the thing is Cash was having none of it. But wait, it gets better.
I'm not
And I'm
surprised
not
that you continue to
surprised
lie
that the-
from
the-
your
that
perch and put on a show
view
so you can go
of
raise
you-
money
Keep
for
talking,
your
Cash.
For good
charade.
reason.
You are a political buffoon at best.
Don't mind that
Well,
gavel.
You can take an internet troll.
Take
and
it
make-
to the
you can take
bank
an
that the
internet-
FBI is protecting
can
this
make an
country
internet troll,
and the state and
the FBI
citizens of the
director
California.
will
We
always
are bringing
do nothing more
historic
than an
reform.
internet
Point of
troll.
order. But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
You said
take
I'm the
control
most
of your
transparent
situation.
FBI director in history.
Take control of your
33,000 pages of information
Oh.
to you. I
Walter.
challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Both of you be quiet.
You be quiet, Senator. Bang that gavel a little harder. Oh, I almost cussed right there. Whoever the chairman was there, dumb. Oh, good for Cash. And by the way, I don't agree with everything that he said on Epstein. I think the FBI could do more too. We all know that. But what I would say is right now, the senators and the congressmen are blocking the release of the information. And right now, the judiciary, 2 courts, one in New York and one in Florida, are blocking it. So everybody's blaming each other for it. And that's why we just need to completely retool the U.S. government. Some people would say gut the government. I can't say that I'm necessarily in 100% agreement with that. You never want to just completely go from a clean sheet. But I guess if we had to, we could go back, start at what? The Bill of Rights and start voting on this stuff again. But Kash Patel, rock star performance. Really, really grateful and thankful that he did not back down from Senator Schiff. He did not back down from the guy sitting there banging the gavel, Dick Durbin. I don't even know who the other senator was. Someone forgive me. If they know, let me know. But it was just, we need more of that. We need more America first. We'll eventually get there, but not today. I did have a couple of texts that I wanted to get to before we get to the break. And one of them was Miss Dee Dee, and she goes, "Good morning, Andrew. Would you have the name of those organizations that are bringing in the illegals?" Yep, One Voice Jackson. They had a big event last year. A friend of the show, Gabe Olivier, was right there when it happened. And maybe we get Gabe back in to talk about it again, because people just don't seem to remember. And I'm not yelling at the audience at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's the political class that can't seem to remember this. And I don't know why Attorney General Lynn Finch just doesn't start looking around and seeing what they do. There are other organizations out there too that I've tried to talk about in a way that I can, but if I don't have the absolute lockdown on it, then I don't want to talk about it. But on this show, when I was filling in for Jameson, I went through their 992s or 991s where they file their taxes, and the people who were donating money to this organization from outside the state of Mississippi to try to influence not Jackson or Hinds County. They're not worried about that. They're worried about Rankin and Madison and the counties out in Redland. And that's what they're doing. And we've got to stand up to that every chance we get. And if it's just little old me, 103.9 WYAB, well, that'll be what it'll be. But I have faith that eventually someone's going to wake up and smell the coffee. I hope so. We're going to take our last break of the out. Man, time flies when we're having fun. All right, you're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show here on 103.9 WYAB. Got another text and asking me why I'm no longer streaming on Facebook. And the truth of the matter is Facebook actively censors me and my content. And I do use it to stay in touch with friends and family, especially old Air Force bubbas. And I don't want to lose that. So I do not stream on Facebook, but I will talk trash about them. I'm visiting one of my friends right now, and it's making it darn near impossible to bookmark John T. Williams' post about last night. And I'm not going to play the sound clip from Dearborn this segment because I want to save it all for the beginning of the next segment, because we've got to talk about what happens when we don't stay actively involved in local politics. It's unbelievable. We also got to talk about another study. I know that I talked about the one study where political violence is so bad. There was another one that came out just before Charlie's assassination and martyrdom, his murder, and it is absolutely insane. I've posted it on X, so you can download it there, and we can review it. But long story short, the political left, not the middle left, but the far left, is so much more violent than all the other classes combined. They are so far out there, and the thing is that the more they lose, the more violent they become. When George Floyd died, how many cities burned? When Charlie Kirk died, how many cities burned? Just saying. I know that's a painful truth for some people out there, but that's just the way it is. And we have to be cognizant of that. We have to, again, not live how we want to feel, but what is actually happening in society. And the truth is that the political left is violent. And anybody who says it's both sides, I'll tell you, no, it's not. The double murder in Minnesota had flyers for Antifa in the car. Not a flyer, but flyers. They're trying to say he was a right-winger, but he wasn't. But you know what? They just wait a couple weeks and come back and recycle the story, and they hope that you're not paying attention. But we know that you are. Many people know that you are. And we just have to continue to step up and call these people out. And that's exactly what we're going to do on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yes, you are. You are tuned in to the second hour of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. It is Wednesday, the 17th of September, 2025, and we are streaming on Rumble, and we are streaming on X, and we are streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming on WYAB.com, the mothership. If you're out of the radio area, you can always listen to us online, and we appreciate that. If you want to be part of the show today, 601-879-0002 is the number. You can always text in at 601-879-5060. Got some good comments and chats. I appreciate that. I've been sent a few videos. I can't watch them during the show, just not that equipped to do that. But I am aware of the FBI investigation Arctic Frost. People have said, what do I know about that? Just what they wrote in the New York Post. And I think, again, there's so much to go after. It's just, what do you go after first? And during the intro, if you heard the top of the news hour break, you heard how I was incorrect. It wasn't 2 federal courts that have blocked the release of Epstein information. It's 3. And again, you don't have the senators taking responsibility or the Congress taking responsibility for it, but everybody and their brother will sit there and just go after this, when they're in a hearing. When the Democrats were in charge under Obama and Biden, did they do anything about the Epstein files? Nope. Has Trump? He's tried. It's not acceptable. I think we could do more, but he's getting it out there. There's more that needs to happen. But again, I just wanted to clarify that. I guess this hour, I want to start off with, researchers warn of rising risk of rising assassination culture after murders of Charlie Kirk and Brian Thompson. Federal prosecutors separately warned suspected assassin Luigi Magnon could inspire more violence. And he was the guy who shot the CEO of the healthcare provider. And remember how all the Democrats were online cheering it, and we were all like, what the heck? But no cancel culture there. No one really, that was so far out of line. No one thought that we were, the United States of America was that far gone. But we are. Now this happens to Charlie. Gone too soon. And now people are like, well, the political left's pretty violent. They are. Researchers are sounding an alarm about a rise in assassination culture. The same thing Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk warned of months before a sniper's bullet took his life, as he spoke in front of a crowd of students at Utah College campus last week. And also his kid. Brutal. The Network Cognition Research Institute and the Rutgers University School of Social Perception Lab teamed up in a recent intelligence report on the issue, warning that arsons targeting Tesla cars and the idea of killing billionaires has become a meme aesthetic for political violence, especially among the far left. Not among the far right. We like making fun of people. We don't preach. And look, the right has always been able to out-meme the left. That's not even debatable. Perceived justification for murder of Elon Musk. 68.4% of the far left think it's not justified. So that would be, let's just say 32% think it is. 32% of the far left think it's okay to murder Elon Musk. 38% think it's okay to murder Donald Trump of the far left. And then it has all the other political categories, and it's so low. It's the far left. And by the way, I'm posting the facts. I'm posting the facts on this because I don't want to get over that. And this data is just another pinpoint for the right to go out and continue to show what's going on here. This is where Charlie Kirk talks about how we have to act. And I know it's a little long, but I do feel that when we're talking about the pointing out of violence, and by the way, do not fall for this political violence on both sides of the aisle. Number one, no, it's the left. I can point to data. And number two, there's another segment to it here, but hold on, I want to take this call. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, got one question for you. First of all, let me say I'm enjoying your show, but I want to know one thing. I heard some politicians, Maxine Waters and other people, even one lady on TV say, "Where is John Wilkes Booth when we need him?"
Oh.
You know, and I'm wondering, isn't this, they don't prosecute people for making, or just because they're high up in Congress that they're above stuff like that, making statements. And Maxine Waters say, "I'll take Trump out anytime." You know what I'm saying? No, you know, what would happen if I said something like this right here? You know, there's nothing that can be done for people. And I just heard you mention about the percentage of people who want to see him see Trump or Mustard. I mean, these people are they just do they not realize what they're saying? Are they just deranged? They're just nuts.
Mr. Willie, I think you're right. And here's the thing about it. And for your first question, nothing will happen to Maxine Waters or any other elected congressman, at least on the Democrat side. If the Republicans said something like that, they might be forced to resign. But it's a two-tiered justice system, Mr. Willie. It's the political class and the rest of us. And that's why they're out there. The reason you asked is why this is happening. It's online culture. You know, back in the day, we would go outside and play with our friends. Now we're all online, scrolling whatever social media platform we enjoy: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever whatever's out there. So I think that answers your question on where they're getting their energy from.
Well, I'll tell you what, this needs to stop.
Yep.
You know, it really, and I'm thinking that we got a president in office now who some kind of way, if he can figure it out, he's going to figure it out. And he's going to start properly. I think if you start prosecuting these people, even if it doesn't go through,
yep,
it'll bring it to light to people who just then start thinking that she had no business saying that. You know, but that's all I had to say. You take care, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Willie. I always appreciate your call.
All right, brother.
Bye-bye. That's Mr. Willie. Well, and there's another facet to that too. You know, let's say the FBI goes after Maxine Waters, and you know what? You've made a credible threat against the President of the United States. We're charging you. She is going to have so much money come in to defend her. Whereas if I said something like that, or you said something like that, man, I wouldn't even make it to commercial break. I'd be smoked. Now, I'm playing this from Facebook. I got this from Steve Hopkins, former Mississippi State rep. And I'm going to play most of this. I realize it's long, and I realize that some people might be saying, "Hey, you're just letting Charlie do the show for you." But I really feel like this is something that this audience needs to hear, because we need to be active in local politics. We need to be standing up for the faith. And Charlie, he always was, even when I knew him when he was young. He was always so eloquent, and so much more eloquent than me. I'm just going to give him the floor right here.
Close with this, and then we'll do some questions and answer. We need to be very clear to preach Jesus Christ to a broken world. As I say, it's the most important thing you can do. What is the second most important thing you can do to make sure you could do the first thing? I spend my entire life on number 2, and I spend some time on number 1. As you could tell, I try to bring people to Christ every single day. But here is where things are changing. And I want the church to adjust with it. And I want the Christian community to adjust with it. We were told you can never talk about politics because it will turn people off and they won't come to church and they won't come back. What if I told you it might be the opposite? What if you start making sense? Like saying, yeah, you're not allowed to cut off the genitalia of my 14-year-old son. Or maybe we should have a border. Or very basic things. And all of a sudden they say, where are you getting that from? Once people start drinking from the streams of liberty, they're going to want to find its source. And liberty is not man's idea, it's God's idea. Everybody,
Boom.
It's incumbent on us as Christians to care about what happens outside of our walls. The most important thing is leading people to Jesus. I'll say that once, I'll say it 100 times. You should also care about what your city council does. You should care about what your town council does. You should care.
And that's where I'm going to stop it, because when we get back, it's time to put Hernando, Mississippi on the map. Because if you can't control what happened in Hernando, Mississippi, what makes you think you can handle a bigger race, whether that be a county supervisor, state rep, state senator? Charlie, that was great preaching, son. I miss you, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Or we'll be back right after this. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser show. Yep. I'm still struggling a little bit with Charlie not being here, me saying I'll call him later. It just hasn't registered in yet. So yes, I said it. I'm owning it. I just, yeah. A man pled guilty to sexual battery and gratification of lust in Rankin County. And what does the local people say? If he was rich, he could have just done that on Epstein Island and been protected by the Trump campaign. When you open yourself up to not doing what you said you're going to do, you're going to be in trouble. And that Epstein issue is out there. So when we left, Charlie was telling us how important it is to be involved in local politics. And here's why. And this is coming from Channel 3 News, WREG in Memphis, Hernando, Mississippi. The Board of Aldermen did not make up its mind on whether to improve a proposal to rename a street after political activist and commentator Charlie Kirk. The first vote to rename the city after Charlie Kirk failed. A second motion to deny the proposal altogether failed. The third motion altogether failed, so there were no further motions, and the board moved on to other items on the agenda. The residents are still divided, and 4 came to speak for it, and 11 came to speak against it. And the thing about Hernando is it's supposed to be a quote-unquote Republican town. And truly, I do believe that there should be statues made for Charlie Kirk at universities, the right to free speech and civil debate. I do think that naming a street after him, if you so choose to, it doesn't mean you have to. But there are a lot of people who are fired up. And the reason I bring this up is because I get in trouble when I say run for slower, or not slower, run for low-level office before you run for high-level office. And I'll tell you what, if Hernando had some Board of Aldermen, they could have potentially done this. Now, I think they are going to rename that street after a fallen U.S. Marine, which is awesome. We do need to remember our heroes in uniform. And if he had that much of a significance in Hernando, that's great, and support that. But at the same time, can't do that. Getting back to Facebook, and I told it to you, John T. Williams had this post, and he gives his breakdown of what happened. And he, of course, has all the pictures of all the aldermen there who voted for it, who voted against it. And there are 264 comments, and I don't want to necessarily read all the comments, but I think John Williams might be onto something. You know, Alderman Bruce Robinson and Andrew Milner actually went so far as to take a motion to deny the renaming altogether. That is especially ironic considering Andrew Miller previously voted to rename a street after MLK Jr. in Hernando. And sadly, newly elected Alderwoman Lauren McClendon chose to read a statement from the local business owner, Danny McGregor, whose opposition of the renaming. This is the guy who publicly mocked Charlie's assassination online and later had to issue a public apology. What's that say about the population when they can come out there and, number one, take joy in someone being murdered, assassinated, and martyred, and then number two, being allowed to go to a public event and have that kind of comment being read by an alderman. This was a chance for our city's majority Republican board to honor a true American patriot, but they failed. Yep. They failed. And again, we've got Republicans of all different flavors, right? And some have really strong backbones, and some of them don't. And the goal should always be to have the strongest conservative, the strongest backbone Republican that you can get. I might be talking to one of them right now. You might be listening. Got something like 82 people just online. One of them might be from Hernando. Maybe they should be on the board of aldermen. Maybe that vote would be a little bit different. But the truth of the matter is, and this is my point with some of my avid listeners who are still waiting for their pound of flesh. I hear you, Brother Junk. But this is why we get involved in local politics, because to become president, you don't need 78 million votes. Maybe you need 200. Maybe you need 200, 400, 800, 1,000. That election's not coming for a year. You're telling me you can't put together an organization between now and then to get yourself on the board of aldermen? Most of the time, it's just a status symbol for a lot of those people. They have a well-known name. John Williams says this: all but one of these Republicans folded like a cheap suit. They were scared of the radical left and turned their backs on the very values they campaigned on every single election cycle. Yikes. Yikes. And we were just listening to Charlie, how he said it's important to be involved locally. That means the church. And I can just tell you, my church doesn't have that problem. And it's one of the reasons I love my church so much, is I know that we are politically engaged. And quite frankly, if you are a Christian, you need to be politically engaged. Do not fall for the lie that is the separation of church and state, because it's truly not there. It's written in a paper by Thomas Jefferson to the Danville Baptist, basically saying, don't worry, Congress isn't going to make any law against you being able to preach what you want to preach. But it's been corrupted over time. And papers have been written and rewritten with new angles, with different authors, to make it seem like it's this big, insurmountable monster. But it's not. You know, the Navy has core values called honor, courage, and commitment. Maybe if our Republican elected officers held to those core values, we'd get more done. And I'm not calling every one of them out. Some of them might genuinely believe it's too soon to rename a street after them. And I can honestly see that. Now, for me personally, I'd be like, let's do it. But I do see some saying, you know what, it's too soon. And that's okay, because that's an answer I could live with. I wouldn't like it. I'd still want to find somebody else, but I could understand that. But just sitting there tramming it down and reading the other side's point of view, man, that's what I get in my text messages on my anxiety device all the time. So many people are so upset all across Mississippi right now. If you're a Charlie Kirk fan, you should be figuring out, how do I become more active in the local Republican Party, and how can I get on the school board or the board of aldermen or the county supervisor. I mean, that is what Charlie would want. I'll say that confidently. He'd, number one, want you to go to church, and then number two, get involved politically. I realize that the majority of people who are now listening to me because of Charlie Kirk are more of the political first and Jesus second. I get that. I even get that. I understand it. My worldview is like going completely 360, right? Like I started, or 180. I started off very much politics only, kept God out of it, and now I'm almost the opposite. That's all right. It just shows I've got progression. I'm going down the track. This is another reason right here that you may want to be involved in local politics. I told you I was going to tie it in. You just had to trust me.
I mean, Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe. And although you live here, I want you to know as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
See that? That's what happens when you don't pay attention to local politics. It's what it's happening in some of our cities right here in Mississippi. That's the mayor telling a citizen, you are not welcome here, because he doesn't want a street named after a Hamas supporter. I don't know if he was a suicide bomber or what that guy's deal is. But Dearborn, Michigan is not what Dearborn used to be. It's a mini Kabul. Let me ask you this. Would you want to go to Dearborn, Michigan, knowing that they don't like outsiders, that they're slowly but surely implementing Sharia law? All you feminists out there, you should be all over this, but you're not. Dearborn is not just right now lost, but it's one generation away from going full Sharia law. This is why back when the Constitution was founded, 9 of the 13 states that founded this country said if you wanted to be in office, if you wanted to run for office, you had to have a declaration of faith. Not just in God, but Jesus. That's what our founding fathers said. So when they say that this country wasn't founded on Christianity, you can call it BS. There was an example to this, or like a minor modification. The state of Maryland, which is very Catholic, didn't have to have the Protestant Declaration of Faith. You could have the Catholic Declaration of Faith. Think about that. When they were coming up with the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, that what was on their mind. The Second Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. It is Constitution Day. But I just wanted to bring that up because I genuinely believe too many Americans are asleep at the wheel. They don't realize what's going on in their own backyard, whether it be Dearborn, Michigan, or One Voice Jackson here in Jackson, Mississippi, holding events to get people IDs who are here illegally. And think about this. How tough would it be for the Secretary of State just to want a query in the database saying who got IDs using the One Voice Jackson group, and then just find out where they are? Over the weekend, I was in a texting conversation with someone, and they're like, I don't hear a lot about ICE in Mississippi. I genuinely think that Mississippi is cooperating with ICE, and they're just not publicizing it, and that's fine with me. Some of you may want that publicity, and I don't blame you for wanting it, but that's kind of where we're at in America right now. We're all over the place. It's like so much is happening. Everything's moving so fast. We can't focus. And truthfully, that's why local politics is so important, because if you focus locally, it'll bubble up. So many people want to go from the top down, but this actually has to be a bottom up before it can come back down from the top. But you're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. You know, a profound exchange was captured in the notes of the Maryland delegate, Dr. James McHenry, at the conclusion of the Constitutional Convention in 1787. As Benjamin Franklin was leaving Independence Hall, Miss Powell from Philadelphia called out, "Well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy?" Without pause, he answered, "A republic, if you can keep it." And I've had so many of my conservative friends quote this to me, and we kind of say it back and forth to each other, almost like we don't even we know what it says, but we don't really realize the gravity of what he says. And today, being Constitution Day, there is a paper out there that you can read to secure the blessing of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Everybody should take some time to go read it. If you can't read it, go on Rumble or whatever social media platform you like and type that in and get smart on it. I promise you this, if we start quoting this more and more and getting it put back into our culture, we can claim our country back. Again, it's not starting at the Congress or the Senate, but it would start in your hometown. And how cool would that be? The truth of the matter is, many of us get overwhelmed, full of anxiety. We all worry about election day in November 20, whatever the next big election is. We don't realize that we have the opportunity to grow liberty and freedom, the republic, right here at home. And I'm not going to say that it's easy, but the difficulty level is on a much lower scale than it is trying to run in 24, 25 counties all at the same time. Whew. That's a challenge. There's a lot of precincts too inside a county. I just wanted to put that out there because I thought that was truly critical, and it's something that we needed to talk about. Moving on through the stories here. People are genuinely, I feel really strongly about this. In our school, in our education system, we talked about how so many teachers were being fired for their anti-American rhetoric in American classrooms. And how I said, we need to have a really big think and a revamp of our education system. Besides teaching the Constitution, economics, English, math, Bible, I genuinely think we should be teaching farming. And one of the things that this has come from the Dark Horse Press, Mississippi Department of Correction and Inmate Gardens produce fresh food while building skills. How many 8-year-olds out there do you think could plant a tomato tree or a tomato plant and actually have it grow? I said tomato tree, Troy. You got me. How many kids out there could successfully grow a tomato plant? A cucumber. If people don't see that as the U.S. food supply diminishes and we become more and more dependent on food from outside the United States, that's going to make us a weak country. Meanwhile, the Chinese continue to buy farmland across the United States. They have farmland right here in Mississippi. No one wants to talk about it. Andy, don't talk about that. It's here. How great would it be to start off in the first grade with a single tomato plant, and by the time you're in 6th grade, you got to be able to do a row crop. Maybe you can do tomato and corn. Maybe you can do sheep. We do have the FFA, the Future Farmers of America, and we need to promote that. I do believe that Andy Gibson does a good job with our Department of Agriculture. But these are the types of things that we need to be focusing on as we move into the future, because those people who have been farming for a while now, we're getting ready to age out. You know, there's a belief out there that over 60% of farmland in America is going to swap from one generation to another. And the truth is if we're not actively managing that and working on that, we are going to have a problem to where we're not going to have enough food for America, and we're going to have to import it from China or from Russia or from South America. And all of a sudden, we're not going to be able to take some of the actions we would want to take because we're depending on that country for food. And it's, again, it gets very overwhelming. You can get very pessimistic. But those are the kinds of things that I like talking about. Have you heard about Miss Sophia Zambrano? She is now world famous. Brother Clay, this might be a fooled around and found out grand champion. Not from Mississippi, but from the University of North Kakalaki. She decided she was going to make herself world famous. I don't know what she was studying to be, but she ain't there now. There was a mural of Charlie Kirk painted in UMC. Or I'm sorry, not UMC, UNC. UNCW, Wilmington. And she took out paint and just started defacing the mural. And it was absolutely, she was actually a dean scholar at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. So she had a free ride, ladies and gentlemen. Talk about entitlement. Sophia Zambrano. Did she respect Charlie Kirk? No. She poured paint all over the mural, and then she was rubbing it with her hands and talking. I can't play the clip because I don't have my editing software here, and it's got some foul language in it. But she is no longer a student at UNCW. Now we can claim victory for that, and yay. But it is a pointer. It is indicating the problem that we have with these kids who grew up on the internet who can just say anything and get away with it. I mean, that's the truth. We have two generations who can look at what they can get away with on the internet and elsewhere, and they just go with it. Same with that kid in Texas. I don't know if you saw that. He was mocking Charlie's death, basically mocking his neck blowing up. He got in front of everybody and did it. He's expelled too. So this isn't just, an isolated incident. This is what's happening in our youth and in our culture. Man, she's getting it from everywhere. And, this girl's life is absolutely going to be so much more difficult now. And I agree, there needs to be a lesson there. And it's great. But at what point do we allow her to integrate back into society? Or is she just done? Does she just need to move to wherever, some other country and get a fresh start? Because there are literally thousands and thousands of people losing their job. And I'm okay with it. I'm not against it. Just like that news radio anchor from Illinois who gave her 1-minute testimony on Charlie, and now she was suspended and resigned. It's just like everything is opposite of what it should be. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. One more segment to go. Time is flying. We'll be right back. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. People are upset at Jimmy Kimmel calling Charlie Kirk a MAGA extremist. It's amazing how much the socialists and communists have infiltrated American society since the 1950s. It's breathtaking. It's like they're everywhere, and it's going to take a long, sustained fight to go after it and to claim our country back. But we're up for it. We're here. We'll do it every day from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on 103.9 WYAB, the Andrew Gosser Show. Sean and Lindsay are coming up next on Crossing the Aisle. That's always a good show. And today at 4 o'clock, you know who it's going to be. Who? Radio Strongman Kim Wade. So much wisdom and knowledge about Mississippi there. Love listening to Brother Kim. People are sitting here talking. I didn't get a big chance to talk about this, but the 2 deaths in out in Vicksburg, the one at Delta State, we need to continue to watch that very closely. That really needs to be investigated seriously. There's no room for that. And wherever that turns up, it turns up. But this is 2025, and we are a better people than that. We are wiser than that. This is Mississippi, and I know our past has been a hard one. But we've got to continue to look forward about this and talk about the good things that can happen here in Mississippi. I'm still an optimist. You know, First Thessalonians says, therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you already are doing. We do that here. We got to equip the saints. I will do everything in my power to continue to equip the saints, including extensive show prep, continuing to find guests who add to the plate to talk about elections that are coming up and events that are coming up. Speaking of which, on the 25th of September, next Thursday, there's going to be an education summit at the Capitol. If somebody can go to that, that would be awesome. I will not be able to make it that day. But it would be really great if someone from the listening audience could go to the state capitol and listen to that event. That would be wonderful. We'll see you in about 22 hours, everybody. Take care. Be blessed.